Did you know Enoch says that there are 364 days in a year? And I'm here to tell you that this is still true today. Hear me out. I know that this sounds crazy. If you haven't read the book of Enoch, this might be really odd to even comprehend. But that's why I wrote my book, Cycle of the Sun. Highly recommend that you read it. Not so much for me to make money, although it does support my efforts. The number one question I received was, when was the Shabbat? And I got tired of hearing it. I said, you know what? Let me just put this investigation. I heard about the book of Enoch and it kind of made sense, but it didn't because the earth does not experience 364 days. We experience over 365 days at times. And so I investigated and Yahweh revealed to me that there are two miracles in the Bible that has thrown off what Enoch said, but it still applies. There are still 364 days in a year. Let's look into Enoch and then we'll discuss this. And I want to show you what is going on. Now, I do have to say that the book of Enoch may be hard to understand. That's why I wrote my book to explain it, and I will try my best to explain it here. And by the way, the word bless, I'm not going to say bless. I'm going to use the Judean or Yahudit word, which is Baruch or Barak. So I'm going to say Baruch. Enoch chapter 82. And shalom, everybody. My name is Zaitadi. Didn't introduce myself. I think you guys know me by now. Enoch chapter 82. Let's start at verse 4. Baruch are all the righteous. Baruch are all those who walk in the way of righteousness and sin not as the sinners, in reckoning of all their days, in which the sun traverses the heaven. So Enoch is calling the righteous those who calculate the time correctly. Essentially, those who keep the Shabbath correctly, according to what Enoch is saying, are those who he considers righteous. Continuing. Entering into and departing from the portals for 30 days with the heads of thousands of the order of the stars, together with the four which are intercalated, which divide the four portions of the year. Now, that phrase sounds odd, but he's speaking of the seasons. And if you read my book, I explain it in tremendous details. But it's talking about the four seasons. So basically, he's saying that every the year is divided into four seasons essentially, okay? And he's saying that a month has about 30 days except for that extra month that has 31 days. So 91 days per season is what Enoch is saying. But that's not what we experience now. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's continue reading Enoch. Owing to them, men shall be at fault and not reckoning them in the whole reckoning of the year. It's Old English, what I'm reading here. I'm going to read it again. Owing to them, men shall be at fault and not reckoning them in the whole reckoning of the year. Yea, men shall be at fault and not recognizing them accurately. So Enoch says you're going to be at fault if you do not recognize the four seasons, if you do not recognize how the months are calculated, you're going to be at fault. Remember, people, wake up. Enoch was taken away, and where did he go? Well, the Bible says he was just taken up. But he has a whole book called the Book of Enoch. And the Book of Enoch, yes, spoke about the giants, spoke about the fallen angels. And then he got information concerning the calendar. And oh boy, is the Book of Enoch a great book. I explained the Book of Enoch in my book, Cycle of the Sun. Um, and I broke it down. I did not touch about the giants and the fallen angels because that's a different book. I could touch about that. I used to talk a lot about that actually. I made lots of videos about that in the past on a different YouTube channel. But let me digress. Or let me not digress. I don't know how the saying goes. Anyways, I'm only speaking about the portion of the book of Enoch that spoke about the calculating of days, and he said that there are 364 days. Let's continue reading it. For they belong to the reckoning of the year and are truly recorded forever. So he's saying this is forever. One in the first portal and one in the third, and one in the fourth, and one in the sixth. And in my book, I explain that. And the year is complete in 364 days. So Enoch says a year is complete in 364 days. So I am talking a lot. I'm posting a lot on cycleofthesun.com about um, about this whole topic about the cycle of the sun, because we are approaching the new year, and the new year is spring. And many of you guys should know this. If you guys are Israelites, or if you follow um, the Bible, and you're all about the truth, you know that the spring is the indication of the new year. And back in the day, people around the earth acknowledged the spring as the year. As a matter of fact, many nations today, I believe the Indians and other nations, they still acknowledge the spring as a new year. The Gregorian calendar at one point did acknowledge spring as the new year. And if you look into it, the way that the Gregorian calendar is calculated, it's called in September, which actually means seven. It's on the ninth month, because the calendar used to acknowledge the spring, and then they decided to change. I believe the change came from, number one, making us confused about the Shabbat, and how Yahweh's sky calendar, which is the sun, the moon, and the stars, those are all, it's calculations for time. Okay. I believe, well, I'm not going to say what I believe. I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue reading about the book of Enoch, but we need to know that the spring is indeed the new year, and the book of Enoch speaks about that. And it's not just a random day that we pick and decide which day is the new year. There's actually events in the sky telling us when the new year is. And that's why I wrote my book. It's really important for us to know the seasons. It concerns agriculture. It concerns keeping the Shabbat, which was the number one question I received. And that's why I wrote my book, Cycle of the Sun. You can get a copy by visiting primitivesignlanguage.com/shop. Link will be in the description. So Enoch says you're going to be at sin if you don't recognize 364 days in a year. You're going to sin against the Shabbat, because the 364 days divides evenly into the Shabbat. I don't know about you guys. If you keep the Saturday Shabbat, you're actually following the Romans. The Romans at one point, they observed an 8-day week. And I even think they observed a 13-day week. They were just like all over the place. So essentially they just changed the calendar around, and they decided that, Saturday is the Shabbat. But they don't actually say that. People who are looking for the Shabbat, they just assume that because it's a 7-day week, that is the Shabbat. But, you know, things are not always that simple. We cannot take an understanding from a foreigner and then put Yahweh's understanding right in it when they don't agree with Yah. Okay, they don't even acknowledge spring as the new year anymore. It's all thrown off, and a lot of our information, people, they're hidden from us. We have more books that are in the Bible than what they're giving us. Do you know? And I made a video about this in my old YouTube channel. There are more books mentioned in the Bible that we just don't have. I'm told that the Vatican has all of the old books of the Israelites. I mean, Israelites are conquered people. We had books. We have lots of relics. We have lots of gold and just ancient stuff. They have our books. But the book of Enoch, we got that. We got that from the um what do you call it? The Dead Sea. That's part of the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's there, and there's lots of books there. I would love to get my hands on some of those Dead Sea Scrolls and look into that myself, but I think that's hard to get. That's another project for another day. Let me get back into the book of Enoch. So there are 364 days in a complete year, and there are extra days too. So we experience 365.2422 days in a year. Okay, that's why we have these leap years. But Enoch says there's 364. Well, that's why I wrote my book. There are two miracles that Israelites are not remembering, or they just like it doesn't come into consideration when calculating the days. And people who believe in the book of Enoch, they're not putting that into consideration either, unless you read my book, unless you heard about this through the grapevine. And so this is what I am pushing up, and I'm so sorry I haven't been speaking about cycle of the sun. I'm just like on so many things. I'm divided amongst a lot of topics. At one point I was sewing clothes, doing HebrewGarments.com, and I just got pushed into Manakati. And Manakati is the language that originated Hebrew and all the languages near the Tower of Babel. I noticed that they are in unity and with a lot of words and meaning. And so I'm like really focused on Manakati. And so I'm literally in college right now studying to be a linguist, so I can really break down the language into pieces that make sense and present it to you with more authority. And so I definitely received information from Yahweh concerning the language, and I wrote the book, Primitive Sign Language. That's why I got the website, primitivesignlanguage.com. You can get the book, but I did take it off because I'm redoing book one, and I'm still working on book two. Book two is a book that needs me to be away from you guys for a whole year. It needs me to have support so I can survive, so I can focus on the book. That book, volume two, needs me to make videos, needs me to take pictures, needs me to break down and really rack my brain and solving the riddles of words. And I have so much to that. That's why the book's not out yet. I so need your support. You want to support me, visit patreon.com/Batia. Link will also be in the description. So I'm sorry, I haven't been talking about Cycle of the Sun because I am just divided into so many different areas. And I also want to expose witchcraft, which was one of the main reasons why I got into the language, because the topic of witchcraft is such an important topic. You can visit ithoughty.com to get my latest information concerning that. I'm constantly posting about that lately, and I have so much I have to tell you. I need to break down the words for you guys so you can see that right now we're living in a witchcraft society. I'm sure you guys can see that with the cell phones and the holographs, and there's a lot of witchcraft about to be coming on us with the robots. Those robots are idols. Those idols move and they are made in the image of man. Most of them will be made in the image of animal and man. Didn't Yah say not to do that? Don't get a humanoid robot. I'm going to back up. I just want to say that the topic of the cycle of the sun and the Shabbat is super important. That's why I wrote the book, and I haven't been promoting it. And so I need to promote the book to promote the information. And the information is like, let me see how many pages. I got the book right here. It's over 200 pages, and I made it in color, made it also not in color to make it more affordable. I think the color is better because it's more visual. And I just wanted to present the Shabbat in a beautiful way. And that's why the color version is hard book, and it is more expensive because the Shabbat is worth it. It's worth it to have all the the feast days it's in the book, and it explains that too, explains cycle of sun. It explains discoveries that I discovered concerning this whole topic around 364 days. I discovered information that I know you guys just don't have. I know you don't have it. Okay, it's in the book. I even found prophecies concerning future changes of the sun. I am literally talking to you guys on a whim right now. I literally started recording this conversation because I wrote a post on my website, and I said, you know what? Let me make a podcast, and I'll put the audio on this page. And now I see I've gone above and beyond the words that I intended to talk about. But that's okay. I'm in the spirit. I'm in the vibe. Let's get back into the book of Enoch. So it says, verse 7, Enoch 82, verse 7, and the account thereof is accurate, and recorded and reckoning thereof exact. So Enoch is saying that this information about the year having 364 days is forever. Is it forever? I agree with Enoch. It is forever because the year still has to pass 364 days to be complete. So Enoch did not lie. Every year there are 52 weeks, which are 52 Sabbath cycles. Enoch did not lie. So when the year is complete, 364 days has passed, and a day is the sun circling the earth. I wrote about the flat earth in my book because I just said the sun circles the earth, but that's not what we're told. We are told that the earth circles the sun and that the earth is a globe, but the Bible doesn't call the earth a globe. The Bible says the earth is flat, and um, the sun and the moon revolves around it. And the Bible and the book of Enoch says the sun and the moon are the same size. We've seen it before. I know if you've seen a big moon before and a big sun, they are the same size. But with the lies that they tell you, which is witchcraft, witchcraft is deception. You see something and they say, oh no, that's not what you see. You see something else. You know the sun moves. You see it move. The sun rises and sets. You see it happening. But they want you to believe that we're spinning right now. When have you seen water on a ball, stay on a ball, and be spinning? And they want to introduce gravity. Gravity is witchcraft. It's magic. Gravity is magic. They literally are deceiving you with some, I'm just going to call it out, bullshit. I digress. I've talked about the flat earth, and you can go on iThoughty.com. Hey, link will be in the description. Link will be on the top of this video because I will make this into a video of this post about flat earth. There's so many topics that you can get by visiting a bunch of my pages, apparently. But let's get back to the book of Enoch. 364 days? What? A year has 364 days? And I think it makes sense. Yes, I do. Because you guys have been asking me for years, and I was so tired of it. And I said one day, let me jump into this topic and not quit until it comes to me. And then I just kept hitting a wall. I kept hitting a wall because, Enoch says 364 days, and we don't experience that. We experience more. Well, let's look at Enoch first, about 364 days. Let's ponder it. 364 days divides evenly into 52 weeks if you divide it by 7. So there it is, 7 Shabbat cycles. The last day is a Shabbat in Enoch's calendar. And so then the first day after 364 days is the new year. Pretty easy. Unfortunately now it's not the case because there were two miracles that were written in the Bible. The book of Joshua, chapter 10, and also the book of Isaiah, chapter 38, verse 8. When Hezekiah got sick, time went back, so then it had to restart again, and that actually gained that little 0.2422 decimal point days added in the year. So it threw it off. So it did throw off Enoch's calendar a bit, but the calculation is still true. There are still 52 Shabbat cycles in a year, and that completes the year. So in order for you to keep the Shabbat, you have to know how Yahweh's calendar works. You need to know that a day is nighttime and daytime. That's Genesis, people. The book explains so much. This book I wrote with love. I took out 4 months out of my time. I had money in the bank and I didn't work at that time when I wrote this book. I was like, this topic of the Shabbat, I need to dedicate and I need to write the book. And I did so much care and so much attention. I was so proud. And this book is not my bestseller, and that's okay. But the topic is super important. The Shabbat is nothing to play with. We need to be on the same page. How can we be on the same page if you guys are debating when a day begins? A day is when the sun sets because it ends the previous day and then a new day begins. A day is the cycle of the sun, okay? The when it sets and then it rises again and then sets. Okay. And so if you don't even know that, if you can't even acknowledge that basic stuff, you're going to be in confusion forever. And you know what? I'm backing up. You do that. If that's what you want to do and that's what you want to believe, you're the few. You're the few people who are on something else, but the Bible is not supporting you. The Bible supports what I'm saying. Okay. Where does a week come from? It comes from the Bible. Genesis chapter 2. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day Almighty ended his work which he made, and he rested the seventh day from all his work which he made. And Almighty Baruch the seventh day, and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which Almighty created. So the Shabbat was made for man to rest every 7 days. It's a gift. Yah said if you rest, you are going to be baruched. You will be refreshed. Your heart will probably feel better because you'll rest. Now, let me share with you some fun fact. Because of the, what do they call, daylight savings, 25, about 20, almost 25% of the population who are on daylight savings time, they will experience a heart attack. This is a known fact. This is a fact. And then when you lose that hour, you're not getting enough sleep. You mess up your circadian rhythm, which is the cycle of the sun, and it could affect you if you're feeble or weak. Almost 25% of the population that's on this get a heart attack during this time. They know this. Research it. They're playing with us. They're messing with the sun and messing with our brains, the way we see things. They're messing with our eyes. They're telling us we don't see what we see. We see the earth is flat when we're on a plane. We see these things. They do not have real images of the earth. I don't want to get into a flat earth topic. This is about the 364 days. Let's stay on topic. So the two miracles, when Joshua spoke to the sun and said, "Stay right there because we're in a war," and Yahweh allowed it. Yahweh permitted, yeah, Joshua's words to be true, and he held the sun for 24 hours. That added 365 days. So again, the earth used to experience 364 days a year before these two miracles. These two miracle events threw off the 364-day calendar. However, the truth still exists. Almighty gave mankind rest every 7 days, which is called the Shabbat. That's why we experience 52 weeks in a year. A complete year is 364 days, as long as the Shabbat is still every 7 days within this calculation. So I will put a link in the description on how to calculate the Shabbat. I spoke about that on my website, and I do intend to make that into a video too. And I think I made an audio for that. If I didn't, I plan on it. So I'm going to end this video. Shalom. Let me know what your comments are